Hello YouTube. I hope everybody's doing well in the new year. It's now 2024, and in this first episode of Muskoka Central TV for the new year, I'm going to be adding some industrial wall sections, the ITLA industrial wall sections. I'm going to be adding them on to my Advantec packaging building, and going to be putting on 4 more sections over here on the left side of the building. Over here in front of the diorama, I have some new 3D printed racks and bins, which are used in the automotive industry pretty extensively, and on my layout they will be manufactured and used at Advantec packaging. So those were all 3D printed for me by Phil's Train Layout Store located in London, Ontario. One other item before I get started on the build. I recently completed the ITLA 2-story industrial utility building. So I'll be demonstrating a lot of the same techniques for doing the brickwork and painting in these industrial wall sections. That's another kit that they offer on their website. For any of you guys that have watched some of my previous videos, you'll know I often enlist Joe to help me out with the builds, but it seems that Joe has met some friends at a recent New Year's Eve party, and I think one of the girls said they were in a recent movie this last year. So Joe's having a good time and he's a little busy right now, so he won't be helping me out with this build. Anyways, let's get on with it.
Here I'm notching out the back of the diorama to fit the 1/2-inch MDF. Want the new addition to fit tight to the wall section, so we have to notch out the base of the existing diorama. Here it is with the new piece of MDF shown keyed into the existing diorama. I have it mounted on a base here. And here is the existing diorama in its lit format. I have another video in my library showing talking about how the diorama was lit with fiber optics. So all of those lights come from one 12-volt source. And here, the new extension, I only want it to be 3 stories high. The ITLA wall sections come 4 stories, and so I have to cut out 1 story. And here we're gluing the sections together. I have to brace them in the back because now I have a top section and the bottom 2 floors. You can see there's a break there. And I just cut some 1/2-inch pine to act as bracing for the whole extension. And then here I'm using some of the sprues which were left as knockouts from the wall sections. You can see the pile of sprues there to the left, and I just glue those, just chip off pieces or breakaway pieces and glue them to the back of the wall sections. And just doing a quick fit up here.
Okay, so that's the exterior pilasters on for the corners and all the center pieces. Note that when I was aligning the corners on the outside pieces, so this piece is going to mesh like this here, I left these pilasters overlapping by this about a 1/16 of an inch, which is the thickness of the pilasters, so that when the two pieces go together, it'll be a smooth transition there. This edge is going to be painted, and then this edge is going to tuck behind. So this, on this tab, it's flush. The pilaster cover is flush with this corner, and on this one, it overhangs slightly, so that when these two pieces go together, that's going to be a flush fit right there, and this is going to be painted. If anything, you want to leave this a little bit long, and then you can file it once the two pieces are glued together. You can file it smooth, so you have a smooth corner on the outside edge, and that will be a pro finish there. Now I'm just going to fill in the tops of the wall sections here. So I finished adding the top cornice pieces and the pieces along the top. For that, I just used some sprue pieces. This piece along this edge of the sprue, and this top cornice piece was the one that's called layer 2 on the ITLA sprue, or I guess window piece. So let's do a little test fit, see how it all fits together before we take it to the paint booth. See that it's keyed together, it fits together quite nicely. This one is going to go in here. Actually, just press fit together, so you can see even without glue, that holds together quite well. So imagine once we glue that with white glue, how strong that's going to be, and how easy everything just lines up together. So now we'll put that in the, take that to the paint booth and hit it with some spray paint.
We're just going to use some Rust-Oleum Camo Beige, which is my go-to concrete color.
The windows come on these sprues as shown here. They have some knockouts still left in the windows that you can use for like if they were broken windows. So before we paint them, I like to just knock those out of the windows. I've done some here. They're just held on by really thin little tabs, so you just have to give them a little push and pull them out of the windows. Leave the window still on the sprue. So I just go through and take all of these out, and then it's just a matter of spray painting the windows here. I've used Krylon Ultra Flat, the camo paint, the dark brown one, which is good for a lot of applications, weathering your track and other items. So anyways, that's one I use for the windows. Comes out almost black looking, and you can see on the ITLA windows, the center section is held on by a little tab, and you can actually angle that open. So, and the other element we have to do is the brickwork. So this is one panel there. I'll show you how we do that. So this is the way it comes on a sprue. I'm going to paint them while they're still on the sprue, all the brick panels. Just put those aside for now. Now I just use simple craft paint for this process as well. In my case, for my bricks, I use a brick red. This one is a barn red and a burnt sienna, which is kind of a brownish red color. So I've mixed this, or put the three of them in a paint tray here, and I just like to put these on in a random kind of pattern. By combining the three colors, you get some variation in the brick, so they don't all look like they're one matte color. This brush is fairly stiff bristle, so it's getting down into the grooves of the brickwork. This is the beauty of the ITLA. It's on a sprue by itself. You don't have to be, no masking. You don't have to be neat about it. Just make sure it's not globbed on there and getting in the grooves too much. The paint's a little thick, just add a bit of water to it. Okay, so that's it. That's the brick. I'm just going to set this aside to dry. Now, this one I did earlier, and it's already dried, and I have given it a coat of Tester's Dull Coat. Any kind of enamel coat will seal in the acrylic paint so that we can now do the mortar mix. Okay, for the mortar, I like to use the Roberts brick mortar formula. It's just kind of a white, soupy plaster kind of mixture. So I just mixed it up really well, and we just put that on, push it around into the grooves. I've used a gray craft paint. I mean, there's lots of items you can use. The ITLA grooves are nice and square cut with the laser, so it gets in there really good. You're not going to pull it all out when you wipe this off. And now we can just try a damp cloth and wipe that off. You can see that's leaving the mortar in the grooves and cleaning off the brick surface pretty good. So that's going to be weathered later on, and yeah, I think that looks pretty good. We'll just set that aside to dry, and these are pretty much ready to go. Now you just pop them out of the sprue. You can see the mortar mix is still there on the edges, and those are ready to insert into our wall panels. Okay, so it's time to do the final assembly. We're going to install the windows and the brick pieces. We have the brick pieces here on their sprues. They've been painted. The windows have also been painted with just a coat of spray paint, the Rust-Oleum. And then we have the window glazing, which comes on these little pieces here. And you can see that they've been laser etched with the movable window in the center. That has to line up with the window in the window piece. So it's very simple. I've added some dock doors to this. These are just a Walther's door. That's a Tichy, I believe, dock door. So I just added that for some variation, you know, a bit of customization, a little different than the dock door that comes with the ITLA kit. So to add the brick piece in here, it easily pops out of the sprue. Okay, it's held in place by just one little nodule, very fine on each side. If you want, if it's a little bit big, you can just run it on a file or something very quickly. It takes that off, and that's going to go in to that spot flat. You can see how perfectly that fits with very little modification. No modification is needed to the opening itself. It should fit perfectly. So I've put this underneath this panel so that it's completely flat underneath. I have a lot of bracing on the back here, which kind of makes this stand proud. If you do this installation before putting this bracing on, you can just lay it flat on the table. So I'm just putting that there. So just a little dab of glue along the edges here. And we just drop that in place like so. And if we push that down flat against the flat surface, that will be perfectly smooth there. If you want, you can lift it up and push it in just a little bit further if you want the brickwork to sit sort of recessed from the concrete work. That's fine too. So that's that piece, and this piece along the bottom. There's some thin brickwork pieces. This one here. Again, we just pop that out of the sprue. You could glue this from the back as well after the fact, if you don't want to get any glue on the face of the model. The glue does seep into the crease. You see, I do have a bit of glue on the front here, but it's perfectly acceptable if you want to. You can see the crease where the panel is set in. If you want to just put a little bit of glue on the back, that works as well. Make sure that's recessed enough. Very good. Now we'll do the window at the top. And I get that flat. The windows, they just pop out of the sprue as well. And because they're so thin, you don't want to damage them. Just hold in place. Okay, that's the centerpiece. Get that in right flat. See how perfectly the laser cut pieces fit? Perfectly flat. Now we could do a couple different methods of pushing that in. I'm going to try it just with the glue that we hold the glazing in with. So I'm using a clear part cement and window maker. This one's Testers, but I know there's other manufacturers that make a clear glue for glazing. So this is going to dry perfectly clear and flat, so you won't see it on the glazing. Now, in the center, this panel can rotate slightly, so you want to make sure you don't glue that seam and glue it shut. You just want to get some of the glue in the center of the window frame, and then just around the outside. It's drying very quickly. Now when you drop the glazing in, make sure that you line up the center panel with the center of the window. Again, I'm going to turn this around and make sure that it's perfectly flat. In fact, I'm going to add a couple spots of this is Faller Expert Laser Cut. It's basically a white glue, a thin white glue, but it has a needle applicator. So I'm just going to put a bit of that in the corners of this window. Okay, you can see I've done this one already and it's dried, but I can actually rotate this window slightly so you can leave it open.
And let's do a quick fit check before we apply the glue. You can see how easily the wall sections fit together. This section's extremely sturdy, even though there's no glue applied here. Thanks for watching.